Hey everybody, Perrin Lovett back here for another exciting episode of the Prepper Post News, courtesy of Freedom Prepper. I'd like to say hello to everybody watching, wherever you're watching, and to everybody, of course, listening to the podcast. Today is already Thursday, February the 4th, 2021, if you can believe it. And got some great stuff here. I'm supposed to tell you to, subscribe and like and all that stuff. You're doing a great job. Thank you for the comments, as always, at YouTube and the community especially. That's freedompreppercommunity.com that you really need to take a close look at. Come on, join the community. It's social media for us. And please, let's try to, I'm not after quantity, it's quality, and we've got excellent quality right now. But if you know anybody that's into prepping, into accurate news reporting or opinions on the news, things you won't find anywhere else, things that defy the conventional narrative sometimes, let them know, get them signed up. Welcome aboard. The more the merrier. If you like it, hit the thumbs up thing. If you don't like it, there's the door. Nobody's forcing you to watch yet. So let's talk about force in the sky, flying the friendly skies. I mentioned this the other day, and The Hill brought it up. I've got that and all of the other stories linked up at freedomprepper.com, where you find the news every day. It's mask on when you're on an airplane or in an airport or on a bus or a train, maybe a ferry, a cruise ship. I don't know, anywhere that falls under the jurisdiction of the Transportation Safety Administration, which did not exist just 20 years ago, now requires that you wear a mask. Or else what? Well, I imagine, first of all, the friendly people that fuel you up and irradiate you for fun would ask you to put one on. If you refuse, they'll tell you to leave. They can also now issue you a civil fine. I'm not sure what that fine is, but I know that you'd probably better pay it, or just not deal with them at all. Now, mind you that there was no regulatory action taken. Nothing in the CFR was put up for public commentary or debate. No member of Congress voted on this. Joe Biden simply signed a piece of paper, and now you've got to wear your mask. Technically, I guess you should be wearing 3 masks, even if you're vaccinated, to get on a plane. And I can remember, I can almost remember back to the good old days, the really good old days. When my dad was, well, I don't know, half as old as I am now, or when he was about, I guess, 20. He flew occasionally across the country. Those brand new exciting jetliners had just come out. And to get on a plane back then, you bought the ticket and you got on the plane. When I came along, you bought the ticket, you had to walk through a metal detector, and that was it. You walked through it, it beeped, they waved you on, you got on the plane. Then you started having to empty your pockets, take off your belt, take off your shoes, submit to the blue glove treatment, or step into the giant microwave machine. And now you've got to be wearing a mask. Next, they'll want your COVID passport. That'll probably be in your phone. They'll look it up and copy everything on your phone when they scan it to scan your ticket in. Unless you're on a watch list, maybe if you decided to exercise your First Amendment right to peacefully protest at Congress, you're on a watch list. But it's where is this going? It could get a lot worse. Like if you're driving to the airport and a big electronic sign says airport closed, safety, nobody can drive. And then later on, when everybody's in the little electric bubble cars, one day you'll get in the car and tell it where to go because it has no controls for you to steer by, and it will say no. The government that loves you is afraid that you're going to hurt yourself, so no traveling for you. Starts with a mask, or it started with the metal detectors back in the 70s. A good time was had by all. But okay, so isn't it cozy that the TSA helps us as they do. If only all governments throughout history had been this helpful. They're also watching. Any airport you go to, matter of fact, any public building in most places, outside of buildings, are now covered by cameras. All the time, at all angles, everywhere. You're being recorded. It's so much fun that they even made a cool documentary movie about it. I've got a link to that. It was a big hit at the Sundance Film Festival. Now, I don't know why we need to watch a movie about us being watched, because we're kind of living it. These are exciting times. Pick your dystopian novel. You're living in it now. And in fact, it's Brave New World, Alas Babylon, almost seems unimaginative compared to our new reality. But back to the mask. Other government agencies have spoken. You really need to wear the mask, or all 3 masks, or 5 masks, or just, bundle your head up in a, like a, I don't know what. OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Hazard Administration, which, didn't exist, 45 years ago, has come up with new guidance on wearing masks in the workplace to cut down on transmission of the coronavirus in the coronavirus pandemic, which is very serious. They're a super regional national health organization, and we need to listen to their guidance. Here it is. Number 15, workers who are vaccinated must continue to follow protective measures, such as wearing a face covering and remaining physically distant, because at this time there is not evidence that COVID-19 vaccines prevent transmission of the virus from person to person. Believe it or not, that really makes sense. You get inoculated by the vaccine, you can't get it. I mean, now it may get on you, you may inhale it, you may have it, but it just can't make you sick. You could exhale it, or it could float off to the unvaccinated person. Would almost make sense, if they were approaching this from a, hey, we're trying to help, why don't we, here's what we recommend, instead of, hey, do this or we'll fine you, or worse. Now the masks. This has been brought up before by multiple sources, including the CDC and some other health authorities. We have Dr. James Meehan, who's a medical doctor, an MD. He is credentialed in all things medicine. I don't know him. I'm just reading this from a story from Lou Rockwell. He's reporting seeing patients that are having facial rashes, fungal infections, and bacterial infections. Why might that be? Well, because you see, the people in the public are not trained on proper use of wearing the procedures for wearing a mask. They do so in a non-sterile fashion. They're becoming contaminated. While trying to prevent one illness, they give themselves others. They leave the mask on the car seat, the rearview mirror. They keep them in their pockets, on a countertop. And every time you put on a mask, it should be fresh and sterile. Either a new mask or a freshly cleaned, sanitized mask. I talked to a nurse friend, and she does not like people walking around wearing all these masks in dirty fashion, because she's a respiratory therapist. She goes from one hospital room to the other, dealing with people who have respiratory illnesses, to include COVID-19 and possibly the new mutant varieties. The New Mutants, like a comic book from Dr. Fauci. She told me her procedure. She puts on an N95 mask that fits right, and she goes in, she meets with the patient, she comes out of the room, she takes it off and throws it away and gets another one. No mask used twice. Other people aren't doing that. But we do have some people planning for the future. I want to know why it is that Bill Gates, why is a computer guy so interested in pandemics? And not just this pandemic, he's calling for one in the future that may be 10 times as bad as the never-ending coronavirus pandemic. This is the same guy that basically called the coronavirus pandemic 6 months before it hit, with his Agenda 21, Agenda 201, some agenda. I wonder if he has an agenda this time. How does he know? Or is he, maybe he thinks it's a computer virus. No, I will not be here all week. All right, shifting gears. welcome to whatever you're watching this on. YouTube or the Freedom Prepper community is a much better place to link up. Although the link usually takes you to a YouTube video, unless we're on our own server, which we could be sometimes. We're good media, as opposed to, I don't know, Facebook and Twitter and all the controlled mainstream socials. That it's interesting how these guys got started. These Facebook started as a glorified electronic college slam book, and then it met with massive success, and somehow it got funding, even though it didn't have a product that was apparent to its users. The users were the product. But anyway, it's quite obvious now that the mainstream socials do not have your best interest in mind. And if you're still using them, I mean, there are a few legitimate reasons why you might, but when something bad finally happens to you, you got nobody but yourself to blame. Case in point, Post Millennial has an article. Project Veritas apparently is everywhere, and they have some new recordings catching Facebook executives in action, praising President Joe Biden, who won the historic presidential election in November of 2020. A lot of people don't know that, so I try to spread the good news every time I can think of it. God, just 4 more years, or 8, or forever. And what Zuck and and by the way, look up early on what Zuck was saying about the fanciful names he gave to his beloved users. He's saying that the Biden administration is passing a lot of executive orders with no Democratic input whatsoever on a lot of issues like social justice that Facebook finds important. So they're going to ban who they want to, and they're going to get behind the guy that wants to eventually ban everybody. Let's see here. How much time do I have? Several years ago, Zuck was in front of Congress, and yes, Senator, in good robot fashion, yes, Senator, no, Senator, I don't know, Senator. Now he's helping call the shots. And there's a lot of shot calling that goes on. Got a story here from UNS, I think it's Philip Girardi, about foreign policy being controlled by foreigners, which is exactly what you want. I talked about this the other day. Not exactly the same subject, but close. Is Biden or Harris, are they going to be the ones that lead us into the next big, fun, foreign war that does not in any way benefit us? For all his faults, and he did have quite a few, Donald Trump held the neocons back, slung some missiles around on rather specious grounds, but no new commitments, and in fact, started troop withdrawals from all the right places. Look for that to be reversed, because the progressives, the liberals, are all about peace. That's why they want war. I think Philip was talking about war with Iran. Not going to go the way most people think, if they think. Most people don't think about it at all, but I know you do. It's going to be a fun time. We're not ready for war. Let's talk about our heritage. This is a funny double feature that I just stumbled into this, and I guess I should try to take this in the right order. The Heritage Foundation, the conservative think tank, good, all American Republican sellout trash. That's the only way to put it. By the way, I have a really good friend who used to work. Matter of fact, we have a really good friend who used to work for Heritage. Did a very important job, and he saw the writing on the wall. He saw the big changes and the inundation of the neocons, and he got out when the getting was good, because it's all gone bad now. The Daily Signal carries a op-ed from a David Ditch. Got to keep between the ditches. Mr. Ditch is some kind of hack that works for the Federalist Society. That was the one I was in. The Heritage Foundation. And he wrote this article called "Schumer is Wrong About Debt. Congress must take debt danger seriously, not spend recklessly." And that's the gist. These Democrats are going to run up the debt and spend all over the place, just like the Republicans have the past eight. Anytime a Republican is in, the same thing keeps happening. Oddly, groups like this are very quiet when the guy spending all the fake money that doesn't exist has an R behind his name. Why? Because they're opportunistic looters, and it makes no sense. And this is back to the war angle. Michaela Dodge, PhD, wrote a white paper for the Heritage Foundation about the woeful state of America's nuclear arsenal. And this is something I have been talking about for a few years now in our big series on unfolding events that I'm working on. More is coming in video, and eventually a handy guide book you can purchase and hold. I talk about the lack of tritium production, and they keep changing the name of these core triggers that cause the fusion explosion in the H bombs. Right now, the name is plutonium pits, made in almost exclusively in South Carolina. They also had some production capacity where Rocky Flats, Tennessee They had it. We ain't making this stuff anymore. 7,000 nuclear warheads. They have to be refreshed. That tritium the trigger the mechanism I'm talking about has to be rebuilt like a carburetor every 7 to 10 years, or you start losing power and predictability, efficiency, and even at some point you'll have total loss of use, which means the things are worthless. I don't even know if they produce any of this stuff anymore. All these plants, they employ more people than ever, and all they do is count chipmunks and shuffle paper and brag about this, that, and the other PC thing. It's pathetic. They don't have warhead production. She has some pretty good points, if these are ever followed. I got a funny feeling they won't be. But what she wants to do is, this is what the DOE and the DOD are talking about, get up to 80 pits per year. So in a decade, 10 years, you would have 800 pits, which is 12%. You could keep 12% of the bombs operational. Now that's more than enough. That's way more than enough to protect a country. But one of the points of the Heritage Foundation is national defense. Free trade, send all the money and jobs overseas, immigration, bring all the problems here, and national defense, which has a whole lot in common with war forever that doesn't benefit us. But keep an eye on that, or don't. It's really a good thing. The less bombs, the better. Do mind that our number one competitor across the sea has not stopped making this stuff, and in fact probably has us woefully outgunned, which is a good thing. Keep us in check. Keep Joe Biden in check the way no one else here possibly could. Also overseas, all of these problems in all these Western countries are ubiquitous and predictable. We have a story from Russia Today about Sweden, Scandinavia, the blonde-haired Nordic people with the reindeer and the pine trees. Sweden used to be a really nice and peaceful place to live, and in some parts it still is, the parts far away from the cities. The cities have been overrun by immigrants from the third world, thanks to retarded and evil politicians. Now, this may come as a surprise to evil and retarded politicians, but primitive people bring their primitive ways with them. There's no magic dirt, there's no force field membrane they pass through and turn into reindeer-loving Swedes who don't want to hurt anybody. They keep up their things like gang warfare, drugs, crime, terrorism. And now the Swedes are just aghast that their murder rate is soaring. It's up above, for 2020, it was above 2019 levels, headed for all-time highs. I have misspelled a word. I better correct that. And listen to what the critics are saying. Critics have accused the government of ignoring the role of immigrants in the rise of gang crime. with officials often pointing to poverty and unemployment as the root causes of violence. I mean, it's a society for, forever. They've always had unemployment and some poverty. We were assured that would always be with us. But they didn't have the crime, and they didn't have gangs going around setting cars on fire, raping women, and setting off bombs. They do now. I guess there's no lesson to be learned here, except maybe you should listen to some of your critics. All right, I got us some good exercise for the final story of the day. I call this the storm caught on camera, and what it is, in Burma, there's a woman who does aerobics on television, and she was out in front of a big parkway recording her show one morning, and she's dancing around. This is good stuff. There's a video of her working out. You might want to bop along, sweating to the oldies in Myanmar. And right behind her comes the army, just flying down the road, all these armored cars and trucks, off to rectify the massive election fraud that installed a fraudulent government. Because, in Burma, it's nice that at least in one country, Burma, people care about the Constitution and the rule of law, and they're willing to do something. So yeah, it's a little too late for Denise Austin to do the same thing. It would have been really nice if she had. Her shows are always nice. I'm sure you like Denise Austin. What if she had been doing a live show, I don't know, say in D.C., maybe back around January 22nd? Nah. I call this, I got a picture here, I call it stormer size. And we're going to stormer size some more tomorrow, which is Friday. I hope you have a great Thursday. And do leave some comments. Let me know what you're thinking. Spread the word and join the community. And pay attention to the other good stuff that's coming out of Freedom Prepper right now and all the time. Time's up. So I will see you guys tomorrow.